Melting ice caps, rising sea levels, climate change. As the human population continues to grow, the planet faces a larger and larger threat of destruction. Hello, my name is Garen B, and today I will be answering the question, to what extent will the burning of fossil fuels for energy affect the climate of the North Pole? My claim is that the burning of fossil fuels for energy will cause severe damage to the climate of the North Pole. So what is climate change? Climate change can be defined as a long-term shift in global or regional climate patterns. Climate change can be explained by the greenhouse effect. The Earth's atmosphere is naturally made out of greenhouse gases such as CO2, N2O, and CH4. When the solar radiation in the form of heat hits the Earth, some of this heat is then projected out into space. Some is also trapped by these gases, and this creates a suitable Earth environment. As humans continue to burn fossil fuels, more greenhouse gases are emitted into the atmosphere. This means that when solar radiation in the form of heat hits the Earth, much less of it is transferred and projected into space, and much more is trapped by these gases, creating a more warm Earth. One of the largest causes of climate change is the emission of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. One can find the root of these greenhouse gas emissions to be in the burning of fossil fuels for heat, electricity, and transportation. In this graph, we can see that above 30% of greenhouse gas emissions are caused by the production of electricity and heat. Nearly 15% are caused by transportation. In Margaret Thatcher's speech to the United Nations General Assembly, a College Board stimulus, she states that there has been a vast increase in the amount of carbon dioxide reaching the atmosphere. There's an annual increase of about 3 billion tons. In this graph, you can see that before the Industrial Revolution, there is little CO2 released into the atmosphere. However, after the Industrial Revolution occurred, many people began to burn fossil fuels such as coal, oil, etc. After this point, the amount of carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere each year has increased exponentially. The warming of the Earth is affecting climates all around the globe, but a majority of the effects can be seen in the North Pole. The United Nations studies have found that winter temperatures in the Arctic will rise 3 to 5 degrees Celsius by mid-century. In this diagram, you can see the North Pole is highlighted in bright red. This bright red shows a 36-degree Fahrenheit in departure from the average temperature at the time in which this diagram was created. As the temperatures in the North Pole continue to rise, the recession of the Arctic ice caps advances. In this diagram compares ice cap concentration in September of 1979 for September of 2010. You can see that the ice cap in September of 1779 is much greater in both size and concentration when compared to 2010. According to the academic journal, Arctic climate changes in sea ice outweigh changes in snow cover. It is projected that if the current trends continue, the Arctic seas could go ice-free by the summer of the 2020s. The solution I came up with to prevent further change of climate in the North Pole is the usage of nuclear power for energy along with urban planning of large cities. Nuclear power plants use low-enriched uranium fuel to produce electricity through a process called fission, the splitting of uranium atoms in a nuclear reactor. Nuclear power is a very clean and effective way of boiling water to create steam, and turning turbines, thus creating electricity. Urban planning is a technical and political process concerned with the development and design of land use in the built environment. According to the article, the urban transformation of the developing world by College Board, the UN predicts that by 2030, each major regions of the developing world will hold more urban dwellers than rural dwellers. In this graph, we can see that CO2 emissions are produced largely by cities. CO2 emissions can be produced by things such as electricity generation, transportation, and industry. Though nuclear power is a cleaner source of energy, it still has a significant environmental impact. Nuclear waste produced by nuclear power plants is highly radioactive and extremely dangerous. Also, the planning and building of a nuclear power plant can take up to 20 to 30 years, so this is not exactly the quick fix we need to prevent any further damage to the environment. In this diagram, we can see the growth of urban dwellers across the globe. In In 1990, 43% of the worldwide population lived in urban areas. It is projected that by 2050, 66% of the worldwide population will live in urban areas. Though we can plan urban areas that are efficient and environmentally friendly, we will continue to see population growth. This means more people using resources and energy and harming the environment further. In conclusion, we must see further development in research to go into this process if we want to see any changes happening. Though nuclear power and urban planning are good solutions, they still have their own flaws and implications. We must work together to create a long-term solution that can fix this issue. What questions may you have?
Thank you, ma'am. I do have 2 questions for you. Question number 1. What information did you need that you weren't able to find, and then how'd you go about trying to find that information?
I was looking more to in order to create a presentation that showcases different perspectives, I was looking for a more political lens or perspective, I guess you could say, but I had trouble finding that. I looked everywhere. I searched different databases such as EBSCO, Gale, but I could not find the information I needed on the political perspective.
Okay, and next question. That's not me. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you use the conclusions or questions of other people to advance your own research?
Many of the conclusions that I researched stated that pretty much the same thing. The ice caps are melting, sea levels are rising, climate change is real. And I was able to use this to develop the idea that we need change. We need to come up with a long-term solution that prevents the damage of the climate. And if we don't come up with that now, we're gonna have issues.
All right, you're done. Breathe.
Okay.